This is a video of some natural hamstring curl progressions that we're going to be running through. What I'm doing here before I start the video is essentially I've found myself a strap or some variety of anchor point and a bench. So in this situation I've got an incline bench, quite a short one I might add, and what I'm going to be using to strap myself to it is actually a weightlifting belt, just a Velcro weightlifting belt. Now any sort of belt or strap is going to work for this as long as you can keep it secure and tight. Alternatively, you can set this up in a rack where you load a barbell very heavy and have it so that it's above your ankles to hold you down. But in this particular example, I'm using a weightlifting belt with a Velcro strap. So I'll start to play the video, and what you'll see is that I am passing the belt underneath the bench, and I'm going to then pass it around my ankles with my feet off the edge so that I can keep my feet dorsiflexed, and I'm going to pull the strap nice and tight and secure it so that I can't pull my heels up. Now, what I'm about to do here is I'm about to progress into a Harab curl. Harab curl is the first progression in the natural leg extension, natural leg curl rather. And what we're going to be doing here is folding at the hips, getting the nose down to the bench, which you'll start to see. There it is. And the goal on this one is actually to progress this out further and further and further along. And I mentioned earlier that this is quite a short bench, so I actually run out of room quite quickly on this particular setup. But you can see here the goal, as I reach my nose further down the bench, my hips have to open slightly more, and thus we're getting more stress on the hamstrings. So this is a really good beginner's introduction to bodyweight hamstring curls. Very good for knee rehab, like popliteus issues, but also very good for training deceleration in the sprint. After you've progressed down this particular method, the Harab curl, the next one would be a Nordic curl. So I'll play the video again, and you'll see that I'm going to start to bring the bench up. So I've shimmied down a little bit and I'm bringing the bench up. This one is an incline bench, so we can actually set it on a high incline. And for the Nordic curl, the hips stay straight. Okay, so you notice that what I did there is I hinged from the knee, keeping everything else in line, shoulders to hips to knee, and it's just the knee moving. So as you get better at this particular movement, you can start to progress down the bench. So the bench can drop bit by bit, increment by increment, so that you're going to get more tension on the hamstrings until eventually you go to a flat Nordic curl, which I just did here. Now, if you can't do the flat Nordic curl and you don't have an incline bench, another option we have that I'm about to pull out is that we can load this and regress this with some yoga blocks. So if I pull this stack of yoga blocks that I had conveniently placed behind me, you can actually stack up a set of yoga blocks and then do the exact same thing on the Nordic, is lower with a straight torso until you make contact and then pull yourself up. You do this again and lift up, and you would be finding a progression at which you can still perform the movement, or in an ideal world, find a point at which you can perform 5 to 10 repetitions with. So you can see here, I'm just dropping blocks until I get to a flat bench because I can perform this with a flat bench. But you would find the level that you can perform it to appropriately. Okay, so we start with the Harab curl, which is the version where we're just hinging at the hip. And as you get closer and closer to the floor of the bench, you can then start to bring in the Nordic curl and progress that straight hip variation, which is going to be much more intense in the hamstring. And that's basically it. That's our Nordic and hamstring curls.